Chapter 15 of Dave Dashaway, Air Champion by Roy Rockwood. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. Chapter 15. A Terrible Discovery. "Are you sure, Bruce?" challenged Hiram. "You are not mistaken?" "In that man?" cried his companion, and his face was pale and his voice was trembling. "Oh, no! It makes me shudder to even look at his picture. Where did you get it?" "Well, Bruce," explained Hiram, "that is the man you heard Dave and myself talking about." "You mean the one who tried to blow up your machine?" "That's him, yes," answered Hiram. "But, say, I thought he was hanging around with that old fellow, your guardian." "He was," replied Bruce. "You see, he came and went. About 2 weeks ago I was in dread when Wirtz showed up. I imagined he'd be putting me into some new circus training or other. I was afraid he might get it into his head to take Lois away and train her to ride a horse bareback or jump through a blazing hoop or some other trick. I never was so relieved as when he went away again. He'd been waiting for someone to come, I heard. An old crony of his showed up finally, a man who used to come every few months to borrow money, to get staked, as he called it, by Mr. Dawson. He was always planning schemes. Why, say," added Bruce with animation, "I never thought of it till this moment, but I remember now he was in the same line as you and Dave Dashaway." "You mean the airship line?" asked Hiram. "That's it. I recollect how he used to brag of the big flights he made and the money he got, and the tricks he played." "Who was he? What was his name?" inquired Hiram. "Vernon." Hiram Dobbs grabbed the astonished Bruce by the arm with such fervor that the latter was startled. "Look here, Bruce," he cried excitedly. "You don't know how important this is to us. Why, it connects up the whole scheme to put us out of business and—" Something else suddenly distracted Hiram's attention, and he stopped short, his companion staring at him in wonderment. "Hush! This way, and easy!" a breathless voice had spoken, and a face appeared around the end of the hangar. "Mr. Borden," whispered Hiram to himself. "Stay here, Bruce. It's a great friend of ours." It was indeed the tramp artist who had so unexpectedly appeared. As Hiram came around to the side of the hangar, shielded from the other camps of the field, he found Borden there, looking anxious and glancing about him as if fearful of being observed by others. "Quick, Dobbs," he spoke hurriedly. "Where is Dashaway?" "Dave isn't around. Did you want to see him? He's off on a practice flight." "How long since?" "About an hour ago." Borden looked disappointed and dismayed. He rubbed his chin in perplexity. Then he asked, "Do you know where he is?" "I think I do," answered Hiram. "He usually goes to the sand dunes about 30 miles down the lake shore." "Got your machine, the Scout, handy here?" asked Borden with increasing urgency. "Oh, yes. Why, Mr. Borden?" "Then don't delay a minute," directed the former tramp earnestly. "Find Dashaway as speedily as you can. Tell him I came to you. Warn him to get back here and stay close about the grounds for the next day or two. There's danger. Don't neglect what I say." With these last words, Borden with a nervous glance across the grounds at some persons approaching, suddenly darted away from Hiram. In a quandary of doubt and dread, the latter stood for a moment or two watching his movements. Borden walked along near the fence and disappeared behind the next hangar. Then Hiram aroused himself into action. He ran back in front of their own hangar and rolled out the Scout.
"Bruce," he said hurriedly, "something's up that may mean trouble for Dave. I've got to go after him. Do you want to go with me?"
"I should say I did," cried his companion eagerly.
"Jump in," ordered Hiram. "Give us a lift," he called out to a passing guard. "Thanks. Now then, to find Dave."
The manner and words of the young pilot of the Scout convinced Bruce that something was wrong. He asked no questions, however. As they got into full flight, due south, Hiram was the first to speak.
"You're our friend, Bruce," he called back over his shoulder, "and I know you're interested in anything concerning us or our business. The man who signaled me to the side of the hangar was the man who drew that picture of Wirtz."
"And he's a friend of yours, too, isn't he?" inquired Bruce.
"I am sure that he is," responded Hiram. "He's acted like one just now, if what he told me is true. He has discovered some new plot against us and has sent me to warn Dave and tell him to get back to the grounds right away and stay there."
"I do hope nothing is wrong and that you will be in time," remarked Bruce anxiously. Hiram drove the Scout to its best paces. He was familiar with the route Dave usually took to reach the sand dunes. There was one especial reach of the sterile stretch which Dave had, so to speak, appropriated as his own private training grounds.
"We're nearly there," announced Hiram finally. "I don't see any trace of Dave or the aerial, though."
"Maybe he went further. Maybe he has returned home," suggested Bruce.
"We could hardly miss him," answered Hiram. "There's the spot where Dave usually descends," and he fixed his gaze on a patch of stunted field poplars. "There's something lying on the ground. A man? No, a coat, I think."
And the speaker strained his vision and set the Scout on a sharp volplane. He jumped out the moment the machine halted. He ran to the spot where the object lay that had attracted his attention. Bruce followed his example and dashed after him.
"It's Dave's coat,"
declared Hiram, and he looked worried.
"I can't understand it. The coat is torn and some of the buttons are off. See on the sand there? He wouldn't leave it here. What can have become of him and the machine?"
"There's a smell of burned wood or smoke," here broke in Bruce, and following the scent, he rounded the patch of brush and saplings. "Oh, Hiram!" he shouted. "Come here! Come here!" The young pilot of the Scout reached the side of the staring Bruce to observe with distended eyes what his new friend had first discovered. Upon the ground was a mass of charred and twisted wreckage. Only the metal parts of an airship remained. Hiram Dobbs recognized what was left of the buoyant Ariel. End of chapter 15.